Hello, I'm Kats, and welcome to today's video. So we're doing another episode of Shardless Champion Chase. Yes, we are here at basically the end of the Ishiyama, the immovable fusion. You can see here we're 80 out of 100. My goal for this fusion was to get to 110, all of the fragments that are offered up for free, air quotes, in order to kind of overshoot and bank the rest of them towards High Mother Maud. And so completing the Champion Chase is an important aspect of achieving that goal. So if we take a look at it, my prediction was on point for the sake of, or for the purpose of this fusion. The top milestone is at 3,000 points. The bottom milestone is at 1,300. And so the goal for today is going to be 3,000 points. Now, I could go out to 4,100, but because we're not pulling any shards, I don't really have, I do have enough resources. We'll talk about that a bit later. But I'm fine just stopping at the 3K and not really pushing to get to the 4,000. I don't really need that many legendary tomes at the moment, at least in terms of, embracing the whole shardless aspect of this particular session, just because we're sitting pretty at like 94, almost 100 legendary tomes on my account. So I don't need this particular one, but generally speaking, that is my approach when I'm specifically pulling shards. Now, it is a shame that we are going to be missing out on 2x voids because it's just a good time to pull. I'm not near mercy, so strategically it would be a good time to pull voids in general, but I just felt like saving voids. I felt like, I already had some champions that I wanted to summon anyways. And so that was going to get me the bulk of the way towards completing getting the fragments from the champion chase. So I figured I might as well just do the rest without having to pull any shards overall. There's always going to be another 2x voids in the future is kind of my mindset there. So what all do we have in terms of champion chase points? So let's start it off with my prism shard here. I saved that. I got this from the champion training tournament, I believe, a few days ago. So I've been holding on to this until today. You can see 5 hours left. Champion chase is live, as we just saw. And so we can go ahead and claim our free summon and see what we have got ourselves. Most likely an epic, as expected. And it is a useless one. Ashima useful for Lady Mikage, but of course I already have my Lady Mikage from the from fusing her. So that is just going to be a food champion in my case. But nonetheless, more importantly, 250 points banked for the champion chase. So 1 resource down. Now we hop over to the fragment summon section because we have to summon a couple of, or 3 champions to be more specific. So we're going to summon Greathoof Loriaka. We're taking her out. What? Why on earth are we summoning and going to use Greathoof Loriaka? Well, it turns out that she is fairly useful for one iteration of S19 against the Tars and Marichka waves. She has the block debuffs, which is good for preventing the 2 turnstone from the Tarses when they counterattack. Also, it's a turn meter fill. Increased accuracy is just kind of a bonus, but I don't really need that aspect. And then on the A2 here, it's kind of synergistic with that A3 in terms of dealing with the Tarses. You can place decreased accuracy on them. So they have a lot less accuracy, which means it makes it harder for them to stun you once again, because their accuracy is much lower. And you can get away with a lot less resistance on your champions and still resist that stun. My plan is to run her unbooked whilst I try that stage whenever it happens to come back in rotation, but nonetheless, she is there. She's unlocked. I've had her for probably 2 years at this point in the portal of the unsummon, but finally she did have a purpose, so she's come out. That is basically where all of these guys sit until they have a purpose on my account. Champion number 2 is going to be Authortrix Lamasu. Just wanted to have her on my account. This is a 650 points because she's a void legendary, but it was 500 for Greathoof Loriaka. So my long-term intention is to have her in Hydra, replacing my Mighty Uko. So we maintain the decreased attack on the A1. We gain a more reliable form of block buffs because we don't have to worry about the Hydra heads coming back with a buff on Serpent's Will and thus not being able to place block buffs with Mighty Uko. And then we also add backup decreased speed when we're dealing with a boss, instead of placing the True Fear, which you will place like in Arena, for example. And then, of course, the super powerful Intercept on an ally, full cleanse, as well as a massive turn meter fill of 50%, and then resets the cooldown of all their skills. So, of course, a lot of people pair this with Marius, or a lot of people use her kind of like a Shuzen. If you don't have a Shuzen, 50% turn meter can basically give your champions an instant turn depending on the situation. So that's what a lot of people use her for. And then she also does have a pretty decent speed or in all battle. So that is my long-term plan to replace Mighty Uko, but there's one restriction that prevents me from doing that immediately. But nonetheless, I do want her on my account. Just use her potentially Demon Spawn, Faction Wars, or just in the Cursed City AoE True Fear could be useful for that. And the last champion we have for the day is Artor, Udix Artor. And yeah, once again, Cursed City-esque champion. He has an AoE on the A1, so I have a stun set ready for him, like speed resistance type stun set. So it's not one I have to steal from other people, which kind of makes it useful. but he can also heal on that A1 based on 5% of his max HP. And then he has a turn meter fill, or so he has a revive here, single target, and then he has a turn meter fill, kind of like a mini arbiter, increase attack and strength, and so you just take less damage, but also cut ahead. So again, Curse City in mind primarily for this guy. So that brings us to around 2,000-ish points. So we have 2 legendaries and 1 void legendary, and then we have the epic from the Prism Shard. So moving right along, we've got a couple of free fusions here. So I have I have 2 Relic Keepers ready to go. So we're going to summon both of those. These are going to be 250 points each because they are non-void epics. So this is going to be another 500 points. And then we also have 1 Broadmaw to summon. So that is going to be the last of all of the fusible and fragment summon aspects, which should mathematically, I believe, bring us to around 2750, I believe. And then that should leave us with 250 points to go, which means that we only need to open 1 remnant summon, which will guarantee us at least 250 points because the worst you can get is a non-void epic. So just making sure we do a quick double check here in the champion chase, and you can see confirmed we are at 2750. So 1 remnant summon will finish us off here. And again, most likely the outcome, 82% chance is that we get a non-void epic. Obviously crazier things have happened, but not this case. Fear not, people. We did not get another mythical. It would have been, I think, the 4th mythical from a remnant summon. So we get a useless delver. But again, the point of this was to get the last 250 points and finish off the champion chase officially shardless. So this is a big bulk of the remaining fragments for me in terms of my pursuit of this fusion. So we can grab all of this lovely stuff here. And for anyone just curious, the last 15 points are a combination of Classic Arena, which obviously can be done very, very easily. I just happen at the time of this recording to have not done enough fights just yet. Basically 1 or 2 more should guarantee that. And then we have the Fire Knight tournament, which you can see here. We're basically done. 1800, I believe, is this milestone. So 400-ish to go. But realistically, I have to finish, or more importantly, I have to finish the Dungeon Divers event here this one. So what, 2,000, yeah, a lot of points. Gonna be a decent amount of gems spent today to finish this off. But I thought about just skipping this and just doing 105 on the fusion, but no, I committed to 110. So we're gonna do 110, spend some gems and try to make sure that we can get, eventually I can get Maud. But yeah, so that's the remaining 15 fragments to get us to 110. But so yeah, this video is probably uneventful because there's nothing really exciting. We just claimed a bunch of champions, that some of which were free, some of them were previous fusions, lots of red dots here, but nothing exciting, which again is just sometimes how the game works out. But more importantly, this is just another case of my overall shard strategy, and I don't necessarily have to or feel compelled to pull during every event, even the good ones. Like I said, 2x voids is generally speaking a good chance to pull, especially when you're further from Mercy. But in my case, I could get away with champions I already needed to summon for other purposes, and thus I just didn't need to pull any shards. So that means that for the next 6 weeks or whenever 2x voids comes back around, we've banked all the voids that I've gotten since the last 2x voids, and I will bank more going into the next 2x void. So if you're ever wondering how on earth I have X amount of shards right on my account, it's small decisions like this one that add up over time that lead to me having a bulk or an excess, I should say, at this point, of shards. And so that brings us to the end of another episode of Shardless Champion Chase. We are going to keep this one short and sweet. And mission accomplished. We got the fragments that we needed from the champ chase without having to pull any shards at all. That being said, though, for everyone else, it is still 2x void. So let me know in the comment section down below if you pulled any voids for the purpose of the fusion or just pulled voids in general. And hopefully you got something good. So let me know what you got as well in the comment section down below. As always, if you did find this video helpful, then be sure to hit that like button down below, and feel free to hit that subscribe button down below as well if you are enjoying the content overall on this channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good one.